All right, let's make a formal introduction for our listeners. Good afternoon, Bryan. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Bryan Hughes accepted our invitation to our show. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Claudio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's go back to the beginning in your life, Bryan. Were you born like in a musical family? How old were you when you perhaps began taking, I don't know, guitar lesson or piano lesson that all the kids do?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say half of my family is musical. So my my mother enrolled me, I guess you could say, in piano lessons when I was I'm going to say 6. That's the agreed on age that I've confirmed. And I took piano lessons until I was about 15 years old. Um, and from all accounts, I did well. I think 6 years old is a good age to. I actually studied psychology and child development. Uh, 1 year, I picked up a bachelor's degree in psychology, and that's
Yeah.
when you're 6, 7, 8 years old. That's when your brain is really forming those synapses, and
Yeah.
you kind of get it in your blood. And so I thank my mom, and I appreciate that she did that. She was a piano player and a singer, of not professionally. Uh, when I was about 15 or so, I stopped with the piano lessons. I think back in the day we called it playing hooky. I skipped my last recital. That there was this kind of simmering problem that nobody really knew about, which was I had stage fright.
Yeah.
I, Nothing too unusual. I mean, most people do, I think, especially at
Oh,
that age.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but I for almost 10 years I practiced every day. And I was playing things like Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, and getting pretty good. But every now and then I'd have to go to these recitals, and I just did not like it. There were a couple of recitals where I actually froze up, for lack of a better way to put it. and
Yeah.
that sticks with you. And I finally just kind of, without asking permission or telling anyone, I skipped the recital. And it was at that point where my family realized that I was just done with the piano lessons. But I those piano lessons really set the stage for just being able to. I'm not a virtuoso at any instrument, but I am able to generally pick something up and kind of start to learn it. So that's the musical background.
Good for you, man. In my case, I don't play any instrument. I don't know how to read music. I never have. But growing up in Latin America, I knew that. Well, my dad had man, a lot of music, and I mean a lot of music. So
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I knew that I liked music to listen to stuff, and then when I was sort of 14 or 15, I bought my first 3 vinyl records on rock, progressive
Mm-hmm.
bands from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew back then that music will become an important part of my life. And I was
Mm-hmm.
able to come here to the United States to study after high school, and I've been collecting music ever since. So I'm very, very fortunate. I'm able to see a lot of concerts on a year, every year, and then buy a lot of music. So, I listen to music at least 2 hours a day, every day for the last 50 years. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did take some
Yeah.
time, and I watched some of your videos, your interviews, and
Yeah.
and it was there's a lot of depth there to
Question. Yeah, thank you.
Your interest. It was that
Thank
I
you.
was
Yeah,
definitely
I like
impressed.
a wide range stuff, from pop, from Latin rock, jazz,
Yeah.
progressive band, soundtrack. I have a big collection, and kind of your kind of music, more esoteric, electronic background, whatever you want to call it. And then pure electronic music, like the Klaus Schulze, like the Peter Baumann, the Manuel Goshin, the Tangerine Dream kind of stuff. So I have a wide range. And there's music I don't like, obviously. So as well.
And the Police. I see you've got your
Of course, yeah, the Police.
Ghost in the Machine shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I went to see Andy Summer last weekend. It was great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I saw Sting like a month and a half ago. So yeah.
Oh man, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
that was one of the best band ever, in my opinion,
yeah. I
But
remember
every
that
time I
when I
change my
was
mind, somebody asked me about Genesis or Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, that's a great band, man. It's a good time to. Music has given me a lot of satisfaction, man. We live in a crazy time with this war and that war and Ukraine and Russia and Palestine, Israel, and that we're killing ourselves, man. So, hopefully those people can listen to some music.
Yeah. In the past uh, week or so, I've when these global dramas start unfolding, I am kind of a news addict,
Yeah.
and I found myself needing to deliberately, avoid a lot of those images and everything, just for my own sanity, and it's nice to be able to put something on the stereo and just
listen to your own world. Yeah, it's crazy to listen to news and this, whatever your political views are.
yeah.
We are destroying the planet. We're killing ourselves, man. So maybe we'll not make it after 50 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So in high school, after the piano, were you in any band? I mean, you were listening more than classical music. You have an inclination toward any rock or any progressive band, or was just mostly classic, electronic kind of music?
So that would have been about the early 80s, and I was interested in just various things that would come on the radio, and of course, this is all. I'm assuming a lot of people who watch your interviews are maybe remember these times when you needed $10 to to get yourself a record, or whatever the price was, and then maybe you made a copy or two and put it on CD. Cassette.
Correct.
And so it was, I just listened to the radio and the things that were popular at the time. I didn't really have access to a lot of money, or especially as when you're living with your family.
Yeah.
I would get $3, $4, maybe $5 for mowing a lawn, in the summertime, and I could use that money to go out and buy myself some music or whatever. But then, so this is kind of the interesting thing to me. I've actually kind of conveyed this to several people at this point. It is kind of part of my history and my creative, formative process, and my listening habits. So when I was in my late teens, I was kind of a wild kid. Not nothing too crazy, but I listened to punk and heavy metal, and I got into to so-called goth rock at the time. College radio. I was a volunteer DJ at University of Idaho. The station's called KUOI FM in Moscow, Idaho. And so I was exposed to. I was into the edgier stuff. But my grandparents, they were getting into this kind of that growing kind of new age thing. You could call it a movement, but I don't consider them to have been part of a movement. It was just that they enjoyed meditation and a little bit of yoga. This is the mid 80s.
Yeah.
And my grandmother would go to their local library, and mind you, I lived all the way across the country. I didn't know a whole lot about what they did or what they were into, but she would go to the local library, and she was able to check out cassette tapes, and she would take them home, and naughty grandma would dub off copies. They called it pirating back then, but it's just that type of behavior is so much worse in the digital age. But so she would make copies. She'd make a copy for their car, and she'd make one for home. And eventually, for whatever reason, she decided she didn't need an entire set of the copies. And so she sent them to me in the mail. I lived in North Carolina at the time, and she lived in Idaho. And this was where I was first introduced to Tangerine Dream, Kitaro, Ray Lynch, remember Deep Breakfast?
Yep.
Andreas Vollenweider.
Yep.
I think I'm saying that right.
Wollenbinder, yeah, it's
Wollenweider.
Okay. Yeah, depending on the German
one.
Yeah,
behind the gardens. Yeah.
Yep.
And gosh, what else? Yeah, I'm trying to think. Popol Vuh.
Yep.
Triatma.
Those people are amazing. The Popol Vuh.
Yeah. And that was the first I'd ever heard of it. And all I had available to me was my hard rock records and the radio. And so that kind of I just spent hours and hours with headphones on. I have Sony Walkman, and I would just listen to those tapes that she gave me. And that kind of, I guess in my mind, that kind of aesthetic got combined with the harder stuff that I was into. So that was my first exposure to the type of electronic music. I'm not really too fond of I don't think many people are too fond of the phrase new age, because that's just so many different topics. It's
correct. Yeah.
But yeah. So
and so back then, when you were, I don't know, you were a kid, 16, 17, you knew back then that you wanted to be a musician, if you will, or it was like something that you could do part-time on a daily basis and then be happy and then follow go to school or any pressure in your family to forget about music?
No.
Or you're not going to make any money as a musician. It's a crazy life and stuff. That's what my parents.
Oh yeah. No, I turned my attention to filmmaking. And,
that's pretty good. Yeah.
And video making. My parents bought me a Super 8 movie camera.
Yeah.
And I spent a few years just torturing my friends into dressing up and being in my movies, and I would blow stuff up with I would take firecrackers apart and make giant piles of gunpowder and put magnesium flakes in it to make it. I was really into the science fiction and fantasy films of the time. Which also, that includes the soundtracks, like the Dark Crystal soundtrack by Trevor Jones, John Williams. Who can ignore John Williams? That stuff really sank into me, because the orchestral, wordless music.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I was into making movies, and I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts. Uh, didn't really do a lot with that, but as I was kind of going into adulthood, it seemed like everyone I knew had a guitar or was in a band or something, and that was a really good way to do a social thing and feel like you were cool or whatever. And so I played the bass guitar not as a professional, but just in bands for ever since I was in my early 20s.
Got it. Got it.
But
And then you
yeah,
guys,
but as far as what I'm doing now, I didn't really even start AeTopus for until I was about 30 years old.
I got it. So
So
you guys play any kind of venues, or you guys make any money, or it was like a weekend thing, playing with some kids to get some pizza and beer money or something?
yeah, that was usually it. Sometimes you'd get lucky and you'd get maybe 3, 4, 5 shows in a month, and it actually, even though you had to split it with everybody else, it did kind of amount to a little bit of, you could maybe help pay your rent or your bills with that. But I wouldn't have never have called it an income at all.
Yeah, yeah.
I have been I've worked in social services, like I was telling you, um, I added a bachelor in psychology.
That's good. Yeah,
So to my list of things that I could do, and that's been very enjoyable and very rewarding. That's kind of been my day job up until I'm not doing it really anymore. But that paid my bills for it's paid my bills for most of my life.
that's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm curious what you have to your left in that particular frame. Uh, yeah,
right there.
already. Yeah, that remind me of a mandala in terms of
Yeah,
Carl Gustav Jung's terms. That
that. Yeah. That is that's an oil painting that I
yeah,
did. It's a study of a piece of art called Cosmic Egg,
yeah,
by Hildegard von Bingen. So I kind of changed the proportions so it would be more square.
yeah.
But yeah,
Got it. What's the meaning of I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. AeTopus? What you
AeTopus.
AeTopus? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What's the abbreviation? What's the meaning of that? I'm quite sure
yeah.
it's a
So
combination of two different words, right? AEO. Yeah.
yeah, it's a question I get a lot, and I don't. There's no quick answer,
Mm,
but I think mostly what it boils down to is because of the uh, my experience in playing in bands. I also have experience in sitting around with people and naming bands. So,
got it.
and one of the things that we would do a lot is we would just sit around and brainstorm, and we write down 200 or 300 possible names for our bands. And I kind of decided that um, I didn't want to go by my name. I wanted a moniker,
Yeah.
because there's a Bryan Hughes who was a professional footballer over in the United Kingdom, I believe. There's a Bryan Hughes that used to be a Texas politician, and so it, it's not a terribly common name, but
Sure. You
I
want
just
to
figured I'd name my own band, AeTopus. And what that is AE kind of suggests time, and Topus suggests the idea of place. And it's a word I made up. It's not intended to be accurate or based in Latin or anything like that. It's just and what I found early on is that once you choose something like that, you've put out a couple albums, you really can't change. So I've just
you're stuck with it, you know. Yeah, so I think I was reading that you began playing music since 2002, right? And then you have released seven albums and two EPs, right? Is that correct?
Let's see. Yeah, 2002 was when the first AeTopus
Yeah.
CD was completed.
Mm.
That's the published date on that. I don't think I shared it with the world until 2003 or 2004 because I was kind of busy and I wanted to do a good job in my outreach. But yeah, 2002. So yeah, 21 years. It's been 22 years.
How difficult was to put the first CD, or I don't know? Yeah, it would have been CD, right? No cassette.
Yeah. It was
CD
a
there.
CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no streaming yet.
No streaming.
And yeah, and I did I realized I would say about 1999, 2000, somewhere around there, I had this realization that computers were getting fast enough and affordable enough, even for someone being a social worker.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm tired of bands getting together, breaking up, getting together, breaking up, talking about how they're gonna hit the big time. And I mean, you do it for fun, but there's always this idea that maybe someday, we'll actually make a living doing this. And it was just never happening. And I was like, I'm gonna get myself a computer and just see what I can do. I did have a Roland D20, kind of what would be considered now a vintage synth.
Yeah.
But so I got myself a computer, and it had, it was before even Intel Pentium chips. It was like a 386 or a 486 or something like that. And I learned MIDI, and I learned just the bare bones of how to record myself and just do basic things. And I also got an internship at a local recording studio for a couple years, so that was really helpful. And gosh, I think actually I think the raw tracks of that first album were on DAT tape, if I remember correctly. So that all had to be taken to the studio and mixed in the studio.
And then you put the CD together, you master it, and then what do you do with it? You start sending CDs to radio station, to friends.
Yeah.
That was before Facebook and social media. The internet was growing up, no cell phone. How you end up sharing your output with other people?
Yeah. It was very rewarding. I did all the artwork, all the graphics. I managed the production of it. I mean, I didn't do the production myself, but I kind of researched, how I could afford to, get myself 1,000 copies. Back then, you got 1,000 copies made because CDs were again, there's no digital versions of these
Right.
things.
Yeah.
There's no streaming or so. But yeah, I would. It was very therapeutic and meditative for the first few albums that I put out, because I would have I would make my mailing list. I would get back in touch with my contacts, and I would slowly start to build a few fans, a few customers,
Yep.
and broadcasters, radio people, and reviewers. Nothing huge. I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, I was managing this massive spaceship of a music project or anything. It's very small. It still is pretty small, actually. But yeah, I would lovingly label all my packages. I'd have stacks and stacks. I would put the one sheet in with the CD and a business card, and everything would have to be arranged just right. And I would take my boxes of
The post office.
packages to the post office. I would wait in line for the overseas. I would hold up the line because I sent a lot of things overseas back then. So yeah, it was very very DIY, and that's the way I wanted it at the time, because
Sure.
I don't know, it was a lot of fun. Still is, but I don't have to do that this time.
Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about that album. And so it was, you were happy. You were not making a living out of music, but it's something that you wanted to do, which is important, so.
Yeah, well, there was a time before, I would say, what was it, 2006, 2007? It was right. There was a time before Napster and Spotify and LimeWire and all that, where I was selling CDs. I was thinking, wow, I could maybe quit my day job. I'm glad I didn't, because the whole thing just cracked. But I was going to the post office every week with armfuls of CDs that people had purchased. I wasn't getting rich, but it was becoming an income. Then of course here we are, and I'm not. I remember being a little bit frustrated for a couple of years, because it almost felt like, hey, you can't rip the carpet out from under all of us musicians here, trying to at least break even or something. But there comes a point where you have to face the music, so to speak, and realize that you are subject to the way that people consume music. It's not all about you. It's about your listeners and how they want to hear it. So here we are in the streaming age.
Right. Spotify and many other websites came about, and then, you need to have like a million stream to get, I don't know, $20 in the check in the mail. So it's very tough. But at least in the Bandcamp, and I noticed that you have your music on Bandcamp. On Bandcamp, you get 90 cents of a dollar, which is very good. So
yeah,
which is fair, I suppose. People buy your music like on a weekly or monthly basis for Bandcamp.
Yeah, I mean it's not too crazy, but yeah, I do still go to the post office with I've got my boxes of compact discs in the attic, and they do sell, and I participate in local art walks. I have my little studio room is downtown, about a mile from where I live, and you meet and greet people, and sometimes you sell a few CDs of the back catalog. So I still believe in physical product.
Yeah, no, I do. I buy, like I told you before, I buy a lot of it, and I mean a lot of it. Some record label now, send me boxes on a monthly basis or every
Uh,
three, or because I want to promote the music. I would play some music on the radio or to do interview. But I buy every week. I buy stuff, CDs, Blu-ray,
uh,
vinyl, a lot of vinyl. So it's it's like it's more than a hobby. It's like a job now. We're doing my day job in music and look at catalog, buy music, I go to Amazon or concert. At the end of every concert, usually buy a couple of things for every
mhm.
artist promoted, promote the music.
You're a musician's dream.
I am. So, yeah, I like. I kids nowadays, like my son, right? They they buy something or they download something or whatever, and they listen 10 second next song, 10-second next song, 10-second next song. So they listen to
Hmm,
an
hmm.
album like in a minute. Or that for me is very foolish to live life like that. I don't want to be. I like to open the CD, look at the picture, look at, like, we'll talk about your album, this, which is a masterpiece, and
Aha.
wonder how the design was put together and the font is on. It isn't an accident. That stuff is a very well run record label, right?
Oh yeah, Spotted Peccary. I've
Yep.
been uh really at ease with them
Yep.
since I started talking
Yep.
to the founders and to
Yep.
the people dealing with the nuts and bolts.
Yep.
They really do care about their artists, and I
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
feel very fortunate to have stepped into that.
absolutely. I'm taking a cup for coffee, and
Oh yeah.
I need to take. You end up receiving several awards, right? One is called Sound Music Reported Award for Best Electronic Album, and then you earned three
Oh.
BMR Best Electronic Album
Oh
as well.
yeah. Yeah, I almost feel like just about everything I've done, or up to a point, received some sort of nomination. But
Yeah,
it was, let's see, the album Between Empires
yeah,
um, actually won an award, Best Electronic Album of. I'm trying to think of when that was. 2012, maybe.
yeah.
That
Not
was a
bad,
good day. Yeah.
not bad. Did you send the award to your parents?
Oh yeah, yeah. Mom's got to have a copy.
All right, that's good for you, man. Right. You
Yeah, yeah.
you pissed off your parents by not following, continue with the piano. So now here's
Yeah,
you
it
getting
was
back to them.
right, right. It's the least I can do. I was a
Yeah,
late bloomer or something.
that's right. That's right. Feel free to elaborate how you end up becoming a member of the Spotted Peccary family, and then how they reach out to you. Do you reach out to them? You knew who they were?
I knew who they were. Um, we all kind of swim in the same fish tank of music, and
Right?
that zone music reporter um, uh, scene, I guess you could call it. Kind of a group of people that all seem to kind of know each other. So I kind of knew of them, and they, to my surprise, they knew of me. And there was a point a couple of years ago, maybe 18 months or something ago, where
Yeah.
I thought, wow, I wonder if I should, approach a label finally.
Oh,
Because as much as I did love the taking charge of my own mailing lists and my own uh, distribution situation, um, it is a lot of work. I was like, I might be able to actually get more music completed, if I reach out. And I looked at Spotted Peccary's website. I think there was maybe a frequently asked questions section or something, and it was like, are you can I submit my music to you um,
Review or something.
for review or something?
No.
And then the answer is no, because I think they get a lot of maybe less serious artists just contacting them out of the blue, almost spamming them. That's just kind of an assumption I'm making. But then I finally did get a hold of Howard Givens,
Got
and he told me that he did recognize me and what I did, and would be willing to listen to my new album. So I provided him with the new album, and they they wanted to welcome me into the Spotted Peccary family. I was very honored, and I'm glad I took that step.
Yep.
But yeah, it took a little bit of kind of self-sacrifice for me to give up what I was doing and go, okay, maybe I could put this in someone else's hands, and
Yeah, and
it's worked out
well,
great.
and I think Howard end up. It says here they end up. Yeah, he ended up mastering that as well, right? And then
Yeah.
they know, which is very very good at what he does.
Oh, it's a
They
fantastic mastering
they
job.
sounded
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's he knows he knows what he's doing very well. Yeah, and so that's what you end up. And are you happy with them now that
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Yeah, they have taken care of you, and they do all the distribution and so on and so forth. I listened to the album a couple times this week, and it's a very good album, man. I really like it, man.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Claudio.
You're very good, and I listen to a lot of stuff, a lot of music, and it's very
And
well
that's
put
great.
together.
That's great to hear, because I never know until people
Exactly,
actually
right?
do hear it. I
Yeah,
have no clue if it's good or not. It's good to me,
that's right.
but
Yeah, no, it's very good, and the fact that the fact that Spotted Peccary, took you under their wing, so to speak, is a very good sign because they like your kind of music, and then they
mhm.
end up mastering this album and put it there, and it's a very good album, man. So hopefully that could be one of many albums that you can
Hope so. Yeah,
you
I've
can
almost got well, I'm well into the album following this. So
cut it. Yeah,
we'll see if they want to continue. I hope they do.
yeah. And then how they people that want to buy your music, they go to the website. You can find it on Amazon. Feel free to elaborate where people can buy your
Yeah.
music. Yeah,
Yeah, it's available everywhere, or it will be available everywhere on
everywhere.
Friday, October 20th.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. And what's the meaning of
So
the title? What's gotta be meaningful? Why you use the word cup, right?
yeah. So it's a combination of things. Sometimes, when I start playing with sounds and song structures, sometimes I don't know exactly what an album is going to be about, or what the overall sound is going to be. I kind of have to put this mosaic of things that I'm doing together, and it eventually congeals into a theme. And there's a lot of I I don't want to scare people by saying, there's a lot of kind of a liquid feel to the album. But I did go out into the temperate rainforest a couple of years ago, and I collected environmental audio that, of rain and running water. I like to be outside. I like like hiking and camping and things like that. And so I bring my portable unit to capture environmental sounds. So there's a lot of kind of that kind of lush feeling to a lot of the songs, but also what really settled it was when was it? It was last August, 2022. My father passed away, and it's he was he was really into Tai Chi and really into Zen. I mean, he was very. It wasn't a hobby for him. He was the first part of his life, he was a United States Marine, and he took a 180 after he went into the civilian world, and he really started studying Zen and kind of Eastern thought. And there's a parable. I don't know if it's actually called something. I think of it as the story of the parable or the story of the broken cup, where an apprentice, while cleaning his master's things or whatever, accidentally drops the master's favorite cup, and it shatters on the floor. And for a while, the apprentice is like, what am I going to do? How am I going to tell the master that I broke his favorite cup? And he finally confesses, and I broke your favorite cup. What's going to become of me? And the master, of course, being the master, is very calm and says, it's okay. It was already broken, meaning that if you get too attached to a good thing, you stand a risk of being completely, like, really disappointed when you lose that thing. And so the whole cup thing, and again, my father passed away, and so this is kind of like my way of saying, it was good while it lasted, and we're all gonna die at some point. And enjoy it while it's there. And so I just kind of decided, okay, that's I've been searching for the real meaning of this album this whole time, and so that ended up being it.
Got it.
But of course, combined with the water theme,
Yeah, especially if you like to go hiking, camping, and you have many data sources as well, for real rain and your equipment at home. Quite sure that putting that together was a combination of external sources, right? Going outside, taking that to a computer, and then hardware, software in order to combine everything together into meaningful tracks and so on and so forth before the album was mastered, right?
AeTopus ends up being this mosaic of sound sources. I would say mostly electronic, obviously, but I do sneak a few little tidbits in there.
As if I have not known, right? Somebody asked me, who put the album together, this album that we show, I would have said that like 3 or 4 people playing this album.
Oh, really?
If somebody give it to me in the car, right? No idea who the person is or the album or what the Peccary is, or like I said, man, probably this is a band of 3 different people or something. I would have, because what you're saying is the tracks are different, right? And I see, right? Just listen to the music, a lot of different data sources, wave and mix together, which is very good, right?
Yeah. And I do, for a long time, I have worked with a guy named Bill Simpkins. He's a professional recording engineer,
Yeah,
and his ears are just gold. He
yeah.
hears things that I don't, and he participates in mixing these things, and I give him full credit for the mix.
That's
Um,
great.
we, we
Yeah,
we work on it together, but he's the one who picks out the frequencies that don't need to be there, and really gives it a fine mix. So it's not just me, but
good for you. Good for him as well. And is any possibility of you, I don't know, touring or playing live this album
well,
somewhere?
I do have a live setup
Yeah,
that's kind of a combination of like a almost a DJ type, like a Ableton setup, but I also do
yeah.
have my favorite um, outboard synthesizers, rack units that I incorporate, and I figured out a way to play things live without it being canned. But I put all this together during COVID, and I haven't really played in front of anybody with it at this point. But I do plan on getting out there. Yeah.
Good for you, man. Good. Yeah, good for you. It's a great album. It was very nice talking to you, man. This is a very good album. I'm happy that you're working with Spotted Peccary, and hopefully that will be one of many collaboration from the two of you working together, and then hopefully we'll see you playing live or streaming some way, one way in the future. I would like to listen to live music. For me, right, I have a lot of music and I buy a lot, but seeing a band live, whether it's electronic music or jazz rock, it brings me a lot of satisfaction in my life. I don't know, and I know the tracks. Okay, I went to see Tangerine Dream a couple of weeks ago. It's not the same,
Yeah.
and they're different member, and I'm aware that Edgar died and the other guys are not as good or as bad or whatever. But
Hmm.
still, the music behind still Tangerine Dream, and I know the tracks well. I know the set list that we're playing, but seeing
Hmm.
a band live or making mistake or doing a different version or this or that, whatever, original member not being there, whatever excuses people can give. I get a lot of satisfaction seeing a band that you admire and then seeing them live in front of you. So it's for me,
Yeah,
it's very
I agree. If I'm over in your area, I will
easy. Yeah, let me know, man.
definitely let you know. And I agree. Something you said was kind of resonated there with me. With electronic music, sometimes
Right.
with this type of thing, anyway. I'm
Mm.
not talking so much about dance or rave or
Yeah,
uh, Goa, things like that, but it, it has to not be canned, for me, because it's
absolutely.
it's easy to put everything on a laptop, and I do use a laptop. um but one of the things that, like, I insisted on for myself is that a live performance has to involve risk, and
Right.
that includes mistakes. I have never made it through my set without making at least one mistake.
Absolutely.
Whether any
Right. So,
whether anybody would notice or not, I don't
yeah,
know. But that's part of it. Is it's every show is different, so
yeah,
you're seeing the real deal.
that's right. And this kind of music is great in the sense that as human beings, right, help us to face the music, right? Look ourselves in the mirror, right? Do
Hmm.
introspection, right? Do introspection and being yoga, meditation, or going for a walk, and then forget about technology and music and the web, Spotify. Put the headphone and go for a walk and listen to a bit of music, help
Mhm.
us, at least for me, help us look inwards, and
Yeah,
see, re-examine our life as well,
for
especially
sure.
the problem we are in the world with wars and this or that. Right? So
Yeah,
it, it,
yeah,
it's great. I try to look at myself in the mirror every day and see, the good, the bad, things that could change, things I have make mistakes, stuff like that. So this kind of music help us out, right? So
agreed, agreed.
it's good that you put together. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you, man. Hopefully
Likewise.
you work with Spotted Peccary, and it's a great album, man. Hopefully people will buy it. I will add the link to Spotted Peccary and a link to your Bandcamp account as well for people to buy your music. Hopefully.
Much appreciated. It's fantastic talking to you,
Same
Claudio.
here,
Really
man. Take it easy,
appreciate
man.
it.
Same here, man.
Okay,
Take it
bye
easy, man.
bye.